I am Danny Kessler, Associate Professor at Dongso University and Korea's first PhD in wellness tourism. Mass tourism relies on uninterrupted global macroeconomic stability. If supply chains break or consumer markets contract, discretionary travel is the first thing consumers cut. Spending on personal health and medical recovery follows a different logic. Biological maintenance is often viewed as a necessity, which protects it from the same level of market volatility. This graph illustrates a specific trend we observed in Jeju during recent market shocks. While standard mass tourism revenue declined sharply, the specialized wellness sector accelerated steadily. During periods when standard travel ceased entirely, Jeju's clinical wellness offerings maintained a sustained 35% growth rate. To understand why this occurred, we have to look past the superficial. Regional planners consistently misinterpret local assets, particularly Jeju's famous Haenyeo divers. Current planning frames these women as a passive spectacle. Tourists arrive, observe them from a distance, take a photograph, and leave. This model creates a financial ceiling. Visual spectacles only allow for single, low-cost transactions that do not sustain a long-term economy. Building a regional strategy around the passive viewing of a diminishing tradition guarantees structural decline. We must shift our focus away from the aesthetic and toward the biological science occurring beneath the surface. Treating heritage as a visual backdrop creates economic fragility. Extracting and operationalizing its underlying biological science provides a much sturdier foundation for the local economy. The Haenyeo are elite practitioners of advanced respiratory regulation. These women routinely reach depths of 10 meters on a single, unassisted breath. They sustain these extreme, repetitive breath holds for the duration of shifts lasting several hours. They maintain this level of physiological output well into their 80s. It is a mistake to assume this capability is simply a matter of lung size or general stamina. The true driver of their ability is the neurological relationship between the human brainstem and carbon dioxide. Replacing the romanticized cultural narrative with hard neurological science is the first step toward building a premium wellness export. When a person holds their breath, the brain eventually triggers a severe physiological alarm. This 3D model shows the mechanism behind that reflex. The panic sensation is not caused by a lack of oxygen. It is triggered by the buildup of carbon dioxide in the bloodstream. This alarm instantly degrades physical performance and induces significant systemic stress. The Haenyeo bypass this system using a precise behavioral adaptation known as the 𝗙𝗶𝗄𝗏. The 𝗙𝗶𝗄𝗏 is a high-frequency whistle performed immediately upon surfacing. This rapid expulsion clears carbon dioxide from the lungs. This forced exhalation stabilizes the heart rate and calms the central nervous system. Over decades of practice, this builds a measurable trait called CO2 tolerance. High CO2 tolerance creates a resilient nervous system. The brain learns to remain calm, even when the body signals a stress alarm. Clinical research indicates that individuals trained in these specific freediving techniques exhibit a significant reduction in the symptoms of generalized anxiety. Because the Haenyeo have conditioned their brains to ignore extreme physiological alarms, their technique offers a measurable clinical framework for managing modern stress. We can connect this biological resilience directly to regional economic stability. In wellness tourism, healing is defined as a biological requirement. This separates it from luxury travel. Consider consumer behavior during economic recessions. Spending on non-essential luxury travel tends to contract. However, demand for mental recovery and stress reduction often remains remarkably stable. Macroeconomic crises consistently correlate with spikes in generalized anxiety across the population. An economy structured around verifiable anxiety reduction acts as a stabilizer. This health-focused demand persists even when general travel interest falls. How does a regional planner capture this demand using existing public resources? The mechanism that bridges this gap is the Jeju Wellness Tourism Ordinance. This map highlights the areas where Article 12 is currently being applied. The ordinance provides direct government subsidies for resident income creation. The Haenyeo lifestyle qualifies for this funding because it's officially recognized as intangible cultural heritage. These funds are used to convert existing public spaces into operational wellness centers. They utilize natural landscapes as high-value clinical infrastructure, which eliminates the need for massive construction budgets. This shifts the operational model. Local residents are no longer just being watched. They are the instructors teaching respiratory techniques to a global market. Government legislation actively funds the transformation of a vulnerable tradition into a premium clinical health service. This intersection of policy, science, and tradition is the core of heritage marketing. Selling a low-cost diving show to mass-market agencies provides very little return for the community. Compare that to a respiratory resilience workshop. This is a premium service based on clinical outcomes. Productizing the 𝗠𝗶𝘀 into an exclusive workshop significantly increases the value of every visitor interaction. This strategic shift diverts revenue away from international travel conglomerates and moves it directly into the village's pocket. True cultural preservation happens when a tradition becomes economically indispensable. By connecting heritage to medical revenue, we ensure the local economy survives alongside the culture. For those of you entering the tourism sector, the implications are clear. Shift your focus away from mass sightseeing and build expertise in certified healing sectors. Mass tourism is inherently vulnerable to global shocks. Medical wellness provides a much-needed buffer. Your job is to bridge ancient cultural wisdom with modern clinical applications. Surviving the next decade of economic shifts requires acting as a scientific wellness activist. I will see you in the next briefing.